So I'm Dan Thompson from the Large Carnivore section of Wyoming Game and Fish, and I'm going to give this talk for Dusty Lassiter. Most of you know Dusty. He's more eloquent than I am and funnier than I am, but I'll do my best shot at doing this. This program, this Bearwise Community Program, is what we call it. The actual Bearwise, the name, this is the 10th year it's been in place. We've been working on I&E efforts within the game and fish for decades, since the 70s when we started assisting with management and monitoring of grizzly bears. And so this talk is mostly about what Dusty's done, but it's our section, our large carnivore section is devoted to managing and monitoring large carnivores throughout the state. One of the major things we deal with is grizzly bears, obviously. And all of our personnel are expected to be able to convey all the information and educational components of what we do, what's important about grizzly bears, how we manage grizzly bears, why we manage grizzly bears, how we monitor bears. They need to be able to convey that to the public. They also need to be able to catch bears. They need to be able to verify what a bear is killing. So they're multifaceted, they're scientists, and they are creative too. Scientists can be creative. So, all right, how's this thing work? So when the program was started, is it okay if I move around? It was primarily to maximize human safety. That was one of the major things that we looked at. And I should mention, most of you know Mark Brasino. He's in the back of the room. He's angry that I point him out, but he and Denny Hammer and were some of the people that really got this program going. And then these were the major points that they wanted to do to discourage bears from residential areas, minimize property damage, minimize livestock losses, and then always these human interactions with bears and human-caused bear mortality. And so I'm going to go through, I don't have a bunch of media clips. I have a bunch of the things that we've done over the course of this past year anyway. And just to give you an idea, this is by no means all-inclusive. These are just some of the highlights of some of the work that our folks have done throughout Northwest Wyoming. And, well, not just Northwest Wyoming, throughout the state, the country, and even in North America. We haven't spent much time in the other hemisphere yet, the Western Hemisphere, the Eastern Hemisphere, but we're working. We've given about 75 presentations, and that's a low estimate. That includes professional societies, grade schools, a two-person school out of Jeffrey City, which is not far from where I live, actually. We really do try to talk with children. Children are the future, obviously, but it's really great to see some of these areas teaching kids how to use bear. Is there a pointer on this? Teaching kids how to use bear spray. We got different things that we use. This was actually a moving one. We showed them how to use it. We talk about the bear's role in the landscape and what's going on with the population. We do a lot of things with different clubs, ranches, professional organizations, groups like Future Farmers of America, things like that. We have hunter education courses. That part of that course is devoted toward grizzly bear and large carnivore ecology and management. We have the bear booth. Greg talked about this. We also have one. It's really a great thing that you can travel around the country. We should have brought it here today, actually. We had 7 events in this past year. People just love being able to go up and see. We have mounted grizzly bears there. We have a lot of different hands-on things that kids young and old, believe me, that they'll come up. And I guess we've really instilled don't touch to a lot of people, because you see people come up and look at it, and then you can touch it, and they're all very excited to see it. And I mean, this is not just a little kid. This is a 65-year-old woman who's visiting Du Bois. We do a lot of educational handouts. Do more on that. Can you turn the volume up? Okay, so anyway, we do a lot of public service.
This is Dusty Lassiter with the Wyoming Game and Fish Department. Hunt with a partner and be cautious when calling for game. Carry and know how to use bear spray. Keep a clean camp. Pack out and remove game as soon as possible. And do not attempt to scare a bear off a carcass it is claimed. Good luck, hunters. Hunt safely and wisely.
So that's just an example of one of the PSAs that we use in the fall prior to hunting seasons to let people know to be bear aware. We do a lot with print media. We do a lot of newspaper advertisements. We do a lot of press releases. There's a perception of controlling what happens in the media. I think that's very difficult to do, especially with grizzly bears, but I think it's important to get the right information out there, so at least you know that the real information is out there. We in the Jackson area itself, we put up information. When you have a captive audience in a restroom, it's a good place to be able to put something in front of a urinal for the guys. We use, wherever we can. There's been research to show the best way to put up for signage and to try to get that information across to the public. On the ground, we've got about 2,000 hangers that we made, the door hangers here, and that gives the basic information. And what's handy about these is that we do a lot of door-to-door stuff just to interact directly with the public. And not everybody's home, people are working. But we can still leave these door hangers here that give the basics, but that also puts our contact information there. So they know that we're available 24/7 throughout the year if they have an issue with a carnival. The Stay Safe DVDs, I'm sure most of you have seen those. We've got those for all the county libraries in the state. We have them at regional game and fish offices. They're really educational. I can try to explain bear behavior and what you should do, but otherwise we can lend these out and people can watch them directly, and they're very, very beneficial. We do a lot of mailings. We worked in this area with the Jackson Hole Conservation Alliance and Wildlife Federation Foundation and Teton County to mail out about 5,000 mailers that we'll be working on over the winter. We've actually switched away from the fed bears, the dead bears, more to stay safe and keep bears wild. We've been working on several ads with those local NGOs. We're working a lot with the Teton County ordinance and compliance with regulations against feeding of wildlife. And we've done a lot with Park County and Sublette County and Fremont County as well. We do a lot of signage. We do temporary closures. There's a picture of Dusty. We've had some, like if there's a dead moose on a trail, dead cattle, dead horse, those are all things that we've dealt with as far as trying to get rid of that attractant, letting people know that there's a potential to run into some bear activity. We've obviously we've already talked about bear expansion today. I mean, that's a challenge that as we have bears coming into new areas, that we're making sure we're ahead of that and letting people know what can be done. There's a lot of billboards out there. Again, we're not limiting ourselves. We're using that shotgun approach, trying to get that relevant information out there. When Dusty's not wielding an axe to chop up I know, that's a pretty cool picture. That was a dead cow that they actually had to figure out how to chop up and get off the trail. We started a livestock carcass management program up in Park County. And we have a private contractor, Randy Blackburn, you can see here. He's actually had some really significant health problems in the past year. But that is a lot of biomass taken off the landscape. He actually goes in and removes, they call him up, and all the money thus far has been through different grants that we acquired in order to move that attractant off of the landscape and actually not have a bear come into a ranch. And roughly speaking, we're talking between 800 and 900,000 pounds of biomass that's been moved to date with this program. Probably over 1 million by next year. We do a lot of fencing, and so I think it's important when we're talking about the Bear Wise program and I&E efforts. It's not just handing out mailers and talking to people. It's on the ground, getting dirty, getting bloody, putting up fence, different things like that. We use permanent and temporary fences around bee apiaries, around apple orchards, around anything that we can. We've used them in the Teton County area around outfitter camps. This is actually in the snow and around an apiary. Anyone who's done it, it's not fun getting stung. You can get stung a lot. But this year we had a lot of this issue. This was more with black bears. But it's something that we can do to try to reduce that. And I think a really great thing that happened right here in Teton County, you can see Mike Boyce, who's our large carnivore biologist here, and Sam Stevens, he's in the back of the room. You can see the side of his face there. They worked with the county and the Forest Service to put up an electric fence around the carcass dump at the transfer station here, which over the years has been a recurring issue that brings in bears. So rather than doing the after the fact, try to catch the bear, we try to stop it where the actual issue is. This didn't work. We have updated our Game and Fish website, and one of the things we really focused on for our section is our BearWise page, and we try to keep that up to date and make sure that information is out there. And I think that one thing that's telling, we had an individual that was a hunter that was bit by a bear 2 years ago, and Brian DeBolt investigated it and talked to that hunter, and he's told him in the hospital while they're working on him, and basically said that your website, the information I read about on your website saved my life. And that's pretty important to know. And it's not going to be that way with everybody, but it's good to know that some of that information is getting out there. And a great on-the-ground effort we did this year was we were able to give away 100 free cans of bear spray in the Cody region. They went out in less than 1 hour. And it was paid for by Wyoming Outdoorsman Yellowstone Country Bear Hunters Association. And one thing that I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a free giveaway. We had a survey where we asked people about our educational efforts. What are we doing good? What are we doing bad? And we're going to tabulate that and put it together in our annual report, our annual BearWise report. But this was a really positive effort, and I think it's something we're going to build on in the future. And these are just some of the major things, and it's focusing here in Teton County. But again, I already talked about the bear education trailer. You know, we go to local celebrations, 4th of July, parades, things like that. We really try to make sure that the Game and Fish is at those events and putting out a positive light. So I asked Dusty. Dusty's up working. He's actually covering for some conflicts right now up in the Cody region, where he would be here. But I asked him roughly how many people he talked to last year, and part of our performance appraisal process is we try to quantify that. And he said he talked to roughly 4,210 people. And but I mean, when we look at our people in our section, I would guess between 8,000 to 10,000 directly about